to give birth to an identical version of my daughter without a skull and without a brain. And I would have had to hold her until she died.
A judge in Texas has now ruled that Texas's abortion ban is too restrictive following a lawsuit that was brought forth by 5 women who were denied abortions after learning that their pregnancies were not viable and in some cases even endangered their lives. Now, during this 2 days of emotional testimony in an Austin courtroom, women gave wrenching accounts of learning that their babies would not survive birth, and they were also unable to travel out of state in order to get abortions where it was still legal. Now, part of the reason why is because the abortion restrictions in Texas involve criminal prosecution of abortion providers if there's any indication that these abortion providers conducted an abortion after 6 weeks, even if the woman's life is in danger, even if there are exceptions that are part of the current law, it has led to a chilling effect where doctors are so terrified of criminal prosecution that they just do not offer the services, even if the services fall under the exceptions as it's written in Texas law. The problem is the law is written in such a vague way that it is leading to that chilling effect, and that is what this lawsuit is about. I want to give you another example of what the testimony was like during this lawsuit, and then I'll give you the decision by the judge.
Another plaintiff recalled the moment that she learned her pregnancy was not viable.
And I can see her pain in her eyes. And she told me that my daughter has been diagnosed with anencephaly, and that means that her skull and her brain is not fully developed. And that she was sorry, I didn't have any option. I was pregnant. She then called in a caseworker. Caseworker came in, and they handed me a paper that said funeral homes on top of it. She told me that I didn't have any options because there was a law that the Texas abortion law prohibited it. I wasn't able to get one. So I felt like I was abandoned. Yes.
That woman grew so distressed on the stand. You see her there. She started to vomit.
Now let's get to the Texas judge's decision here. On Friday, the judge ruled that the state's abortion ban has proven too restrictive for women with serious pregnancy complications and must allow exceptions without doctors fearing the threat of criminal charges. So the injunction, by the way, also applies to women who have a condition exacerbated by pregnancy, who can't be effectively treated during their term. It also covers cases where the fetus has a condition that makes it unlikely to survive after birth. Now, what I think is fascinating about this story, Cenk, is that while the state has alleged over and over again that they have written in the law that there are exceptions for women who have all these issues during their pregnancies, they want to appeal this judge's ruling. Why? I mean, this makes it abundantly clear to the abortion providers that these exceptions exist. Don't you want that? Apparently they don't, because they want to appeal this.
No, I don't know how they get around your argument, Anna. I thought the same thing as I was reading it. So you're saying, oh, don't worry, these exceptions already exist. But since you said they should exist, we're going to appeal because we don't think they should. Well, that doesn't make any sense. It's just not logically coherent. And why are they purposely not being logically coherent? Number one, let's be honest, they're right wingers. Logic is optional. Secondly, because they want it to be vague, so they scare the living crap out of the doctors so they don't do any abortions under any circumstances. To that point, let me read you graphic 5. Under Texas bans, it is a secondary felony to perform or attempt an abortion, punishable by up to life in prison and a fine of up to $10,000. The law also allows private citizens to sue anyone who aids or abets an abortion. So it's not just the government suing you. some Yahoo off the street can sue you, and then they can sue you out of existence. They're not. The criminal penalties are life in prison, $10,000. I've read $100,000 in another article, by the way. But it could be fines way in excess of that in civil damages if the rando sues you. So you might go to prison for life. Gee, I wonder why the doctors are hesitating. And Texas is like, oh, I don't know why they're hesitating. Shouldn't it be obvious when they need to do an abortion? It's not at all obvious. And you're making sure that it's not obvious because you don't want anyone doing any abortions because you don't care about these women.
Yeah, look, oftentimes when legislation is passed, not on principle, but on political motives, and I do believe that's the case with these abortion bans in states like Texas, they will screw up and they'll write the legislation in a way that might be overly vague and it has unintended consequences. But in this particular case, I don't even believe that's what's happening here. Because clearly there is an effort here through the judge's ruling to make it abundantly clear that these exceptions exist and that abortion providers need to be protected from criminal prosecution should they provide these services that fall under these exceptions. And you have the law, you have the state wanting to appeal it. So now I don't even believe that they accidentally vaguely wrote the legislation. I think that they wanted the chilling effect.
Of course they did. And by the way, if you ask them in a political context, they'll say, that's right, we don't want any abortions. That's all murder, man, I don't care, right? That's what every one of their politicians that passed that law says. And then you ask them in a legal context, they're like, well, no, I mean, golly gee, is it big? So it seems to ban all abortions, even the ones the doctors think are absolutely necessary? Oh, I guess we did that, didn't we? Oh, get out of here.
The woman who testified and became physically ill during her testimony, I just wanna share with you what she went through. She was told in the middle of her pregnancy by the doctor, this is a non-viable pregnancy, okay? The fetus is not going to survive. If you give birth, if the fetus is alive after you give birth, she's not gonna survive any longer than a few hours. And that's exactly what happened. She held her baby in her arms for 3 hours as she watched the baby gasp for air, desperately gasp for air, change colors from red to blue to purple, and literally die in this woman's arms after she delivered the baby. That's what she had to go through, thanks to this insane and restrictive law in the state of Texas. Pro-life, am I right?
Yeah, look, what are you gonna do with the right wing? So 70% of the country wants abortion to be legal in the first 2 trimesters as it was under Roe. About 98% of the country doesn't want women to go through what Anna just described, right? But all Republican politicians are wedded to that 2% radicals that are in their base. And so they're like, no. And they make up radicals on the opposite side on this issue. And they say, oh yeah, the left wants post-birth abortion. Totally made up, lunatic conspiracy theory, doesn't even make any sense. There is no such thing as a post-birth abortion. But you listen to any right-winger and they believe it's true because everyone in right-wing media lies. Everyone in right-wing media, everyone. I've seen all of them say post-birth abortion when they all know that's not a thing. They all know they're lying about Northam, the Virginia governor. Every one of them. So then right-wingers think, oh my God, they're killing babies 7 months after they're born or 7 minutes after they're born. It's lunatic, right? Meanwhile, this is actually happening. It's an actual real legal case, goes to court, women testify, and the court says this is barbaric. You can't have this. And Republicans in Texas go, no, we want it. We want it. So we're gonna appeal. We're gonna appeal and we're gonna make those women go through that tragedy over and over again. Well, okay, Republican politicians, you wanna listen to that 2% of your base that are absolute monsters? You wanna lie to the rest of your base, deceive them over and over again? Okay, then you're monsters and you prove it by your actions.
And look, it has not been politically beneficial for the Republican Party, but if they wanna keep going in this direction, have at it. Because even Republican voters are not in favor of these insane restrictions.
They're not at all, and let me be clear about that. So a lot of times, and you'll see me do it more than anybody, I will go after right-wing voters, and that's like sacrosanct. You can't do that, right? But I do. I did it earlier in today's show. But in this case, Even in deep red states, Montana, Kentucky, Kansas, forget about this extreme, just normal abortion. Do you want it, yes or no? And Republicans vote yes, we want abortion. And so they join Democrats, they join independents. And so none of those states, when they put it to ballot initiatives, said no, ban abortion. None of them, none of them. When you ask about this issue, hey, should women and doctors be allowed to decide, is it a life or not? You have a tiny percentage of the radical right. It's not, it's the overwhelming majority of Republicans, let alone the rest of the country, says, don't do it, don't do it. Don't have big government thugs decide for families and moms and doctors. But nope, they're gonna listen to the most radical, insane part of their base. And that's why they're passing laws everywhere, even though they're deeply unpopular. So you are what you do. So don't come telling me about how Republican politicians might be moderate. Almost none of them are. They're all barbaric like this, and their actions and the laws that they pass absolutely prove it. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.